In my last video, I discussed a lot of the problems that the Warship has, such as its weaknesses against bosses and its unbalanced costs. Now, on that video, I got a huge amount of comments, so I'm going to respond to them and further discuss thoughts on how to fix the Warship. The simple fix here is to reduce the number of insta-kill attacks for warships, as around 49 to 90,000 health, so not every attack or series of attacks should instantly kill it. Only a few attacks like the Mark IV artillery, Apex Beam, Calamity Stomp, Mark II insta-kill rockets, etc. should be able to one-tap it. It makes the warship feel valuable, but keeps the sense of intimidation for bosses that can. Also, re-adding the explosive resistance on the bottom path will make its cost and health more balanced. I agree with this part, but not this part. This part doesn't make sense. There are other towers that are made to deal with explosive resistance. Warship does enough damage already to where that this is not needed. But as for its health, as for the things that can destroy it, that should definitely be dialed down. Warship should have an ability for both paths to repair the ship. Also, all warship attacking abilities should never one-shot unless it's a low-level warship. Okay, here's the thing about this one. Parts of it make sense, parts of it don't. I really do think that there should be ways that bosses can one-shot warships. I think that that should be a thing. I just think that there are too many bosses that can do that. I think that should just be dialed down on its own. When all hope is lost, golden warship. Man, I really hope not, and I'm not gonna lie. That would just be, it's probably gonna cost, what, 1 million gold for no reason and just do infinite damage, just as a laser cannon. My one issue with Warship is that it's kind of useless outside of the main modes. It was only really useful in the Tower Battles event. However, it was already pre-outclassed then. Here's the thing, I have noticed worryingly that in the past 3 events, there have been 0 water maps and 0 ways to use the Warship. I think that is a kind of a problem, considering that we are essentially just not allowing Warship to be used on certain maps. So I really do feel like that water maps should be reintroduced into events. The thing is, the Warship is a giant ship, and it getting one-shotted should be a rare occurrence. Mark IV could have a longer cooldown and make him stand in place to compensate for the recoil, then it could be balanced. Calamity makes sense, he is very strong with insane abilities, so him destroying a warship is completely fine, but it shouldn't be easily destroyable out of high wave endless. Yeah, Artemis easily being able to kill warships is kind of crazy. Yeah, again, this really goes into the issue that there are a lot of, weaker enemies that can easily kill warships just because their attacks are very unbalanced against high health towers. The whole water tower thing is a mess. This should have never been released that early, or if it did, it should have released as a different tower acting as a bridge between the patrol boat and warship so it wasn't as overpowered. I completely agree with everything about this. I honestly think that with the patrol boat and the warship being the first towers that they made, or being one of the first towers they made, they're very outdated and there's no other tower to bridge in between the two. So the naval tower thing is just kind of a messy issue of one is completely weak and trash and the other one is overpowered but also really weak. There's nothing in between the two bridge other things, kind of like the cryo towers. My issue with the warship is the placement. Not many maps have water to begin with, and those who do have water don't have much water space. Yeah, this has created a really big problem with the simple maps category. A lot of the simple maps have water, but they all vary in the amount of water they have. And since they all give the same reward, that means that right now Oil Rig is the best simple map because it gives the same reward as something like research base, but research base has less water space, and since Oil Rig has more water space, people use that, which actually results in Endless being really boring because a lot of people use the same map over and over and over. The warship C-rams should be able to deal with enemy rockets and artillery. This is a really good idea, I'm not gonna even lie. Especially the fact that they are somewhat modeled on the warship, and that most warships in real life have C-rams to defend against things like that, and the fact that ours don't is kind of confusing, but maybe in a future rework. The cost issue isn't that bad if you calculate it. A modern Apache costs $52 million. TDX's War Apache is 3 times more expensive than the Apache, so it's around $150 million. And the Warship, the literal combat ship, is $360 million. Here's the thing about this, the TDX War Apache is kind of a lazy upgrade. It's kind of an excuse to just add more bullets and stuff like that. I don't think they wanted to model another plane to have in between that. So because of that, they just kind of made it cost 3 times more. As far as the pricing thing goes, the fact that the current helicopter is very close in price to the Warship is very concerning, actually, because it kind of devalues what the Warship is. I think they should add different parts on the warships that we could upgrade and add weapons to, like missile silos or CRAMs, which would make them more unique and way customizable. Okay, this is a really good idea for a unique type of tower, especially concerning that every single Tower Battles game right now has the path system. I think having a different kind of system for special towers where you instead upgrade certain parts of the tower, make it more customizable, would definitely make the Warship very unique. This would be a very good rework in the future. I'd love to see this, and I think everyone would as well. Here's 2 comments that kind of cover the same thing. Warship top path has anti-air. It should destroy missiles thrown by bosses. Bottom path has ICBMs, which are not used. And I think Warship should be able to defend itself from enemy attacks. Again, both of these make a lot of sense considering that warships have CRAMs on them that just destroy everything that comes close to them. I think it'd be a really good idea to add something like this to the game, some sort of defense system, or maybe even a tower that defends against things like that. Warship definitely feels a lot squishier than it should. To be honest, with some boss enemies doing percentage damage instead of flat damage or straight up insta-killing, what's the point of having towers with tons of HP? Yeah, this is a really large problem that I just noticed, is that the XWM, which has around 6,000 to 7,000 health, can take 15 hits, while the Warship can take 5 from Eradicator Mark 1 because of its rebuild feature. There are a lot of unbalanced mechanics like this that really try to dog on certain towers. I do feel like it's because they're going to rework the main modes and they're just going to make the current ones harder until they can get these ones reworked. But as of right now, it is a problem that hopefully will be addressed. Warship is basically required for Endless, and there are very good grinding strats with it. A DPS tower with splash damage is insane. Oh hey, look at that, it's YuukTV. We actually discussed this in the replies right below, and I actually got his Discord so we could discuss this further. We first discussed things like, therefore, since some bosses can't attack warships and therefore the ones that can attack it should attack stronger, which can result in some unbalanced interactions. We also discussed other things like, since Warship was kind of made in a weird spot, it's odd to balance as well, which means that while it may do a lot of damage, some bosses do unbalanced damage to it. Then we discussed that, especially with the expert enemies, especially Mark II, doing a lot of damage to warships and mainly one-shotting a large amount of them, is that the warships should still be strong against bosses and stuff like that. However, it shouldn't be an auto-win tower, which I completely agree with on that case. There should be no tower that automatically wins you the game. That's unbalanced. However, the warship should be stronger and should be more impervious to boss attacks, and in the future, if it's reworked, it would be really awesome. If you guys really like this video, please consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.